How you doing, everyone? And welcome to today's episode of the Isaac Hayes Show, talking about life, talking about liberty, and yes, talking about the pursuit of happiness, and to show everyone in the world that Cajuns do have intelligence. Hope you're having a good one on this nice, cold Monday morning here in Louisiana. The temps at the time of this recording, it is, okay, let me pull my KETC weather map. And my board is acting up. Wow, cold weather. It is 28 degrees. Now, a lot of you might say, that ain't cold. Well, it's going to get colder. The low is supposed to be 14 here in the state of Louisiana. We're not used to those type of temps. We're not used to 3 to 4 inches of snow either. That's what they're calling for tomorrow. And, some people might think this is a sign. Some people on the left, today is Inauguration Day. It's today that we go out with the old and in with the new, somewhat a little older. But Donald Trump will be inaugurated back into the White House today. That is going to happen in a few hours of the release of this episode. And it could not come at any better time. We're going to talk about his pre-inaugurational rally last night, and we're going to break that down. We're also going to break down TikTok coming back. Was not going long. It was like a friend that went down the road and realized they cannot live without you, so they came back. We're going to talk about that. We have a lot of other stuff. Also, the hostage situation in Gaza, the update on that. As you know, they made a deal. They made a ceasefire deal. And with that being said, that all happened on Friday. I had a whole show planned for Friday, but unfortunately did not have enough time to come and record it. Was going to do a show after on Friday, but some things came up again. Could not come into the studio. Said, hey, I'm going to go Saturday morning. I had to be in Lafayette for a certain amount of time, and just never got back to the studio, started working on other stuff, and I just decided, look, you know what, hey, I'm going to take a break this weekend. I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. I don't know if you could tell, like this morning I'm refreshed, and that is because Friday night, I'm going to be honest with you, I was tired. I don't know, maybe just the hours I'm putting in with work, the studio, ministry, and all that stuff. But I went to sleep Friday night at 6:30 and didn't wake up till 7:30 the next morning. Now, a lot of people was like, whoa, that's a little over an hour of sleep. Yeah. And Saturday night, I went to bed around 10 some, but I woke up later than I normally do as well. So I really had a time to refresh this weekend. I was really tired. I was drained. And look, to do this show, you have to be 100%. You can't be 50%. You can't be 60%. You have to be 100%. And I do apologize. I said this on the last show. I feel this is an obligation. I like to come here and I like to talk with you guys. I like giving you my opinions. And I just couldn't do it, and I apologize for last week. And look, this business, I just can't call someone and say, hey, can you guest host for me? We have to set this in advance. And God, God has been gracious to me, and it was just a rough weekend, and but I rested, and I'm back. I think I'm on all cylinders. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I woke up this morning not drained. I was like, I gotta get up. I was like, I woke up and I said, Lord, thank you for this morning. You should do that. Every morning we should wake up and say, Lord, thank you for giving me another breath. Give me another day. So also with that being said, I want to dedicate this episode. This episode is number 359. And I want to dedicate it to a family member of mine who unfortunately passed away this weekend. It was a sudden death, unfortunately, and this happened on Friday as well. So that all played a role into it. My cousin, Chantel Dago, sweet soul, loving soul, would give the shirt off her back if she needed to. And we are a family. If you notice that from the last episode where I dedicated the episode to a family member, we're a close-knit family. Uncles, aunts, cousins. I know people, they have cousins and they don't talk to them for years. I have one cousin that was very close to me when we were young. I haven't talked to him in a while because he moved away. But when him and his family lived around here, when they were around here, we go Thanksgiving together. We would meet each other, and we were a very, very close-knit family. And all my family really live close to each other. I told somebody the other day, I'm glad we don't have the feuds no more, like the Hatfields and McCoys, because I'll be stuck in the middle. Like, I'm right in the middle. My mom and dad, my dad's family's on the left of us, and my mom's family's on the right. So if they would ever have a family feud, I'm stuck in the middle. I have to figure out where I'm gonna go. I'm like those people in the Civil War that's like, we don't wanna fight. We don't wanna fight. Why we wanna fight? We don't wanna fight. But this episode is dedicated to my cousin. We were close, not as close as we could be, but we were close, and unfortunately passed away at the age of 46 last week. So keep my family in your prayers. Keep my uncle and my aunt in your prayers. They're taking this hard, as you know. Hey, my uncle told me the other day, it's not easy bearing a daughter, and or bearing a child. And I told him I can only imagine. I don't want to go through that. I pray that the Lord spares me of that. And look, my kids are healthy and they're strong, and thank the Lord for that. But it got to be hard. It got to be hard. So keep my family in your prayers. This episode is dedicated to my cousin, Chantel Daigle, episode 359. All right, out with all the sad stuff. Let's talk about some good news today. And look, the left is dreading this day. You know, again, the weather patterns are kind of weird this week. Donald Trump inauguration is going to have to be held indoors. In my lifetime, I never seen an inauguration held indoors. It didn't matter how bad the weather was. They always try to hold the inauguration outside. But he's going to have to be sworn in at the Capitol Redundant because of the weather there. I think it's going to be snowing. It's really going to be bad. And like Donald Trump said, he don't want to risk anybody being on the road. So they're just going to do it in the Capitol Rotunda, and he's going to be inaugurated. And again, this is happening, I believe, at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time, or 11 o'clock, might be right after the show. It's sometime in the afternoon, Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. He's the second president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. He was the 45th. He unfortunately lost to Joe Biden. You might have a feeling, I can see the chat right now. The chat is probably saying, Isaac, he didn't really lose. You know, you might be thinking that, but hey, that's your opinion. But he did lose the 2020 election. Now he's back in 2024. Now, is this a blessing in disguise? I don't know. I wish he would have served 2 consecutive terms. I would rather have Donald Trump for 2 consecutive terms than what we went through for the last 4 years under a president that was not there. And we're going to talk about Speaker Johnson's interview about a meeting he had with Joe Biden. It's shameful. This was elder abuse that we had a man that old in there for 4 years. Now, look, a lot of people will give me the argument. Isaac, what about Donald Trump? Donald Trump's like 78 years old. He's going to get out of there at 82, 83 years old, the same age as Biden. Well, look, if you do the comparison of the age, I was one of these people saying, look, we got to call balls and strikes. I didn't agree that Donald Trump was running at an older age, but if you look at both these men, you can see that they are both mentally different. Joe Biden cannot hold a whole statement by saying what we're doing. Anyway, come on, man. That was his go-to. If you look at Joe Biden's presidency, every time he talked, it was anyway. That was his get out of jail free card. Just say anyway, and people would forget what he was saying. And Joe Biden was just mentally not there. On the other hand, Donald Trump's one of the only presidents I've seen to go through the White House and not change much. Just think about this, chat, and think about this, everybody else that's watching, that's not participating in the chat, but you should be participating in the chat, and you should be hitting the like button and the follow button and all them good buttons for me. Donald Trump was the only one that did not really change. You look at Barack Obama, you look at George W. Bush, look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not the same man he was when he got in there 4 years ago. And I can tell he's mentally sharp as a tack. No, he's not. Go look at these people. They all have changed except one person, Donald Trump. Donald Trump in my lifetime has not changed. When he walked out the White House the first time, he did not change. And his mental capability has not changed. So, yeah, Donald Trump is mentally smarter than Joe Biden. But you hear the laugh, oh, he's losing it. Oh, he's not mentally capable to be president of the United States. When you have a man that couldn't even remember he signed legislation. Again, we're going to talk about this later on. But Donald Trump is back in town. The sheriff is back. Look, I'm going to give you a history reference. of comparison. It is a small comparison, but anybody seen the Kevin Costner movie Wyatt Earp, which was based on historical facts? And this is a historical fact. I watch these shows, I'm like, wow. And I don't always believe the movies. I don't. I'm sorry. Based on an incredible true story. Yeah, it says based on an incredible true story. I don't go ahead and just watch that movie like, oh, wow, that's gospel. That's history. I always go back and see how accurate the movie was. Then I start doing my research on it. I'm a movie buff, and I always thought about doing a podcast called Useless History, because I know facts about Andy Griffith, Happy Days, and all this stuff. That's interesting to me. But anyway, going back, watched Wyatt Earp, and I knew Wyatt Earp was a marshal or a sheriff, whatever. And if you watch Wyatt Earp and you read in history, he took over Tombstone. Not Tombstone. It was Dodge City, Kansas, and he cleaned up Dodge City. But people started getting upset. Oh, I can't believe we can't have fun. We can't have the saloon open at this certain time. We can't. And they ran Wyatt Earp out of there. Wyatt Earp left. A couple of months down the line, Wyatt Earp gets a telegram. And they say, hey, can you come back and take over the town? It's running rampant. You know why? Because people were like, oh, hey, Wyatt Earp, we just got a nice clean town. No, Wyatt Earp kept things in check. And when he come back, he took Dodge City back, and he said, hey, no, we're not doing this again. But the people had to realize what made Dodge City tick and be a good, clean town wasn't the people that were coming in. It was the deputy, it was the marshal, or whatever he was, whatever his title, the sheriff, whatever. And I think this is how America looked at Donald Trump. Donald Trump was good. And look, my pastor said it today, even the church, and I agree with him, the church did this. Hey, Donald Trump came into office. I did this. I was making videos in 2016. People were telling me, boy, you good, man. You need to keep doing it. And after Donald Trump got elected, I slacked off. I stopped. I chilled. Donald Trump's in there. Churches did the same thing. Oh, we don't have to worry about our our liberties because, hey, Donald Trump's in there. Donald Trump's going to win another 4 years, and we just took for granted what we had. Donald Trump left. Now it got worse. Now we brought Donald Trump back in to clean it up. Like I said, I don't know if that's a good comparison. Let me know in the chat if you think that is a good comparison, but I think that's a good comparison. Anyway, I was supposed to be talking about his pre-inauguration address because he wants to do a lot of stuff. And I got this from the Daily Wire. President Trump promised the people of our country want to keep on winning, and we're going to win like never, ever before. That's some of Donald Trump's quote. Before thousands of his supporters at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., President-elect Trump promised on Sunday to act quickly to face every single crisis facing our country. Trump will be sworn in at noon on Monday, so that answers our question from earlier, to begin his second term in a nation and a world facing numerous issues. Thousands of Trump supporters traveled to Washington, D.C. over the weekend to celebrate the swearing in of the 47th president. The spies inauguration ceremony will be moved indoors over harsh weather conditions in the national capital. Many Americans stayed to attend Trump's victory rally and hear the incoming president across the nation. Let's read some of Donald Trump's quotes. Our new administration will inherit disasters at home and abroad. Our economy is plagued by inflation and high interest rates, a catastrophic border crisis nobody can believe, a planet on the brink of World War III. It's not going to happen, Trump said. But starting tomorrow, I will act with historical speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country. We have to do it. Trump told his supporters to expect lots of executive orders issued immediately, especially targeting illegal immigration after he takes office on Monday. You're going to see executive orders that are going to make you very happy. Lots of them, Trump said. We have to set our country on the proper course. By the time the sun sets tomorrow evening, the invasion of our borders will come to a halt, and all the illegal border trespassers will in some form or another be on their way out. So Donald Trump is doing what he promised, what he's going to do. He's going to take care of the border crisis. That's a promise. I before even taking office, you already seen results, which we have with the Gaza issue and stuff that nobody expected to see. Everyone is calling it. I don't want to say this. It's too, I can't, begotten this, I guess, but we'll say it anyway. The Trump effect. Had to turn on my alarm. It's you're the effect, Trump told the crowd of his supporters. Since the election, the stock market has surged. Ball's business optimism has soared. Bitcoin has shattered one record after another. Trump also highlighted the ceasefire and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas that the Pentagon credited Trump with influencing. There was a lot. There was a lot that was said last night, but a lot of promises that Donald Trump put forth. And look, this is what America wanted. This is what America wanted to do. America wanted someone that can do things in this country to help this country, not hurt our country. President Joe Biden for the last 4 years has proven that he has hurt our country. Now, there was thousands of people, according to the Daily Wire, thousands of people at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump can draw a crowd, and I like this. I'm going to see what's going to happen at the inauguration. I'm going to have it. I'm going to be closely monitoring it as best as I can, and we're going to see. Because look, I think this is a day of new spark. Now, according to the left, people are going to say, "Oh no, this is the worst day in history." I'm already being told this by several friends that are on the left. We're seeing it. Look, and look, I call him my friend here. I don't bash the liberal trucker, but he's wrong in this instance. He's talking about how Trump is dead. Trump's backpedaling. Look, starting today. Okay, starting today. I want to tell you this, my audience. I said this for Louisiana, and we already know things are happening in Louisiana with Governor Landry that I disagree with. Okay, but it's not going to be turned overnight. Okay, like I said, when Governor Landry was elected as the governor of Louisiana, people were assuming that the next day things were going to change in Louisiana. It didn't. It's still getting fought on. You have left-leaning Republicans. You have Democrats that are fighting every way tooth and nail. You have the court system fighting against Jeff Landry. Yes, he has done some things that I disagreed with already, and I haven't called him out too much. It never came up. But it's not going to change overnight. And I'm going to say the same thing about Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump has a little bit more power than a governor, so he can change a lot of stuff. And going to my next story, Donald Trump, this is from Fox News, Trump to take more than 200 executive actions on day one. So you see, Donald Trump's going to do a lot of executive orders, but it's not going to change overnight. Our country is not going to be a desert storm with a tumbleweed running through, and the next day is going to be a city of utopia. It's going to take time for Donald Trump to fix what was broken. Remember, I think it was the last episode I made this analogy. Donald Trump built up so much stuff, and it's easier to tear something down than to build it up. And Donald Trump got to take the rubble that Biden put, a big heap of rubble, and try to rebuild it. It's not gonna take, oh, Donald Trump's in office, bam, we're utopia. And we're going to have to give Donald Trump time. And I think this is what some people, they don't understand about politics. It takes time to push policy. This is one reason why Donald Trump is signing 200 executive orders. Now, I don't agree with executive orders too much. Executive orders, the purpose of it was, hey, we need more pins. Let's sign an executive order, get more pins. Let's change this national park to this surname executive order. Let's not deal with Congress on that. Now, 200 executive orders. I believe this will be the most of any president. I understand Donald Trump saying that. We need to hit the ground running. I agree with him. And we need to do something to curb the hypocrisy and curb the anarchy and all this stuff. We need to do this. We need to do something to, how can I say, to curb the mess that we're in. Now, by executive orders, man, I did not agree with President Biden, President Obama saying I have a pen and a phone and I'm going to use it. I didn't agree with President Biden doing executive orders. Now, Trump turned to executive orders because he didn't have he had the House of Representatives and he had the Senate, but the Republicans for 2 years fought him tooth and nail. And the last 2 years of his previous administration, were Democrat-controlled House and a controlled Senate that was Republican. But ladies and gentlemen, he needs to get almost all this stuff done, not by executive orders. He needs to get it done legislatively. What I'm talking about, they need to pass it through the House and need to pass it through the Senate. Why? Because if he doesn't do this, if he doesn't look, sign the executive orders, then all of us go ahead and write laws to pass it through the House and pass it through the Senate. Why? Because if he does not do this, if he does not get it done through the House of Representatives and the Senate, the next president, God forbid, it's a Democrat. But if it is, that Democrat's going to sign 201 executive orders. And then we might see the next Republican president come back, oh, I got to sign 230 executive orders. And this is going to be an abuse of the executive orders. Yes, I'm not doubting Donald Trump's motives for these executive orders, but he needs to get it done through the legislative process. And I understand you might listen to Isaac, he needs to do something. Yes, I agree. But if he signs these 200 executive orders, he needs to pass them through the House of Representatives and the Senate. He needs to do it legislatively. He needs to submit that into law. Because if he doesn't, the next president, God forbid, is a Democrat, comes into play, and guess what? He's going to turn everything around. And look, I don't know all the 200 executive orders. He's saying it's going to be for border. It's going to be for this. It's going to be. Look. We can go. Let me see. Let's look some examples of the executive orders. Let's just see. The national border emergency. We need to deal with that. Trump said he's going to close the borders. Trump will also create task force for protection of the Homeland Security with officers from the FBI, CIA, NCA, and other agencies to fully bring about the presence of the criminal cartel. He wants to unleash Alaska Energy, so he's going to open up wells. See, stuff like that I'm not against either. Okay, look, I'm not fully against an executive order. Let's bring that point out too. I'm not fully against executive order, like I said earlier, but like to open up the oil field, yeah, hey, sign that paper. Let's not worry about Congress with that. Let's put this oil field stuff in. Maybe that's what it, because Biden did close a lot of oil fields. Biden did close a lot of drilling projects. And he did it by executive order. Now, and see, that's another thing too, okay? How many executive orders did Biden do within his presidency? Is Donald Trump trying to tackle that all on day one? I tell you one thing, he's gonna have writer's cramp. 200 tying your name 200 times. Now he might be used to it. I don't know, but he needs to submit this through legislative process. And look, we're gonna hear. Get ready for this. You're gonna hear left-leaning people like the liberal trucker that's on TikTok, and you're gonna hear a lot of left-leaning people say that he's being a dictator by doing this. He's using his pen and he's being a dictator and he's doing what he wants. The problem with that is, even people on the left, they gotta realize Barack Obama did this. Not as much, but and look, I thought it was excessive when Joe Biden did 17 executive orders on the first day. This is 200. He's gonna beat Joe Biden out of the water. But Joe Biden did. Joe Biden took his pen and destroyed everything Donald Trump did. This is part of our government, executive orders, if done right. Now, there's one president, I can't think of his name at the moment, did not use one executive order. Not one whatsoever. Because he thought, hey, we need to do everything through the legislative process. But we will see. We will see. And look, I'd say I'm not going to doubt Trump's intention. I think Donald Trump really wants to help this nation. He wants to go ahead and make sure this nation is great. He wants to make sure this nation is prosperous. And these 200 executive orders is going to do that. And it's going to hit the ground running. Now, will there be some challenges in court? Yes, because the only one that can overturn an executive order is a federal judge. So let's see what happens. Now, let's go to the other main story this week, and that scared the living daylights out of me. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next story, which Trump has promised on day one to restore TikTok. One of his many executive orders that he plans to sign is an extension of the deadline to the ban on TikTok. As a lot of you know, TikTok, the popular social media platform, was scheduled to be banned on January 19th, the day before inauguration. Donald Trump asked the government, asked the Supreme Court, hey, can you extend the ban for a couple of weeks so when I get into power, I can look at it and I can get everything situated with this. The Supreme Court said no, it is not unconstitutional past this ban, and that ByteDance has to sell to the United States owners if they want to continue to serve here in the United States. We all know that this ban was brought out by some shady dealings. The reason I say that, there was a package of for us to extend the government or something. It was a federal package for money, or it was a package to somebody else. They tried to push a TikTok ban by itself, and you the listener, you the TikTok user, said, no, we want to keep TikTok. And they kept on trying to tell us, oh, national security issues, you know, they're taking your data. And they didn't mention TikTok. They didn't mention Facebook. They didn't mention Instagram. They didn't mention Google. They didn't mention all the other network companies that take your data and sell it to other people. But those are American companies. They're safe. You really think a person that is taking your data to make money really cares about your private interests? See, that's the whole thing about this whole TikTok thing, too. I never understood that. The federal government went ahead and banned this app based on, oh, national security threat, and they're taking your data, and they could use it for attacks and all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, don't you think that Meta and Google and all these other big platforms don't take your data, and people are seeing it? And look, I was talking about this with a good friend of mine yesterday. We talked about how Facebook and Meta, Meta in general, Instagram and all, but these big platforms were hacked. People can take your information from these big social media accounts. Oh, Isaac, but they're American. No, all your private data is stored in America. It don't matter. They're using that to sell to other people. When the government says, hey, you need to get rid of this. And the way they did it, like I said, was shady. Back, I can't remember the date, but TikTok was banned because they snuck it into a bill. They stuffed it with some pork. And this is how the government normally does it. The federal government will put a bill they know is going to pass, so they sneak small things in there that does not pertain to that bill, and they will pass it. And TikTok was banned. TikTok flew through the House, entered the Senate. Why? Oh, we can't cut the funding, so that's a casualty. TikTok. Now lawmakers are pushing back on it. Well, we didn't know it was in the bill. Hogwash. And I said this to, like I said, this weekend I had conversation. It's kind of funny. None of our elected officials knew about it. Oh, that bill wasn't in there. We didn't know it was in there. But myself, Amber May, 2 Mics Live. Now, he hadn't talked about it since then, but I bet he would talk about it now. The great Scott Ford. All of us content creators had an opinion about this, and we put it on our shows. And you're telling me that you didn't know about it? Well, Isaac, you gotta realize we don't have time to listen to small shows and podcasts like y'all's. Yeah, but you know how many small shows and podcasts are talking about this? Mike and Mike Alderise, Dr. Mike and Mike. I'm not trying to, you're not a small show, I'm just saying. But all our shows talked about this, and you didn't know about this ban? That's when I know they're lying. Again, this was passed in, and now Donald Trump saying, look, we can fix this. And he's going to sign one of his many executive orders to try to extend TikTok. Now, TikTok did go offline for a mere maybe 3 hours for me. Me and the wife, we both tried our TikTok accounts and our Lemonade's account, and I tried my Lemonade account, and no, it didn't show. It was saying, hey, the app's down. And ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump says, hey, look, we're going to sign an executive order tomorrow. We're going to enforce it. Also, Biden helped too. You think I'll give him some credit. He said, look, we're not going to impose the fines. Now, like I said, that's amazing. That's a whole story in itself. A president of the United States saying, hey, guys, we have a law, but we pushed it. We don't want ByteDance in the United States, but we're not going to impose the fines. So Apple and Google, y'all can continue putting TikTok. We're not going to impose a fine. Go ahead and try to do that with any other law. You as the individual, the blue collar worker, you know, the ones that have the names of their job on their shirt, like myself. Go ahead and hey, speed through, go drive 100 miles an hour in a 50 miles an hour zone and let a cop catch you. And the cop goes ahead and pulls you over, and you say, hey, you know, that's just a suggestion. I don't have to really pay that fine, you know, the town mayor or this and say, no, we're writing you a ticket. Or you going to jail. One of the two, you have to decide. But the federal government just says, you know, TikTok, don't worry about it. Apple and Google, don't worry about it. Just keep doing. We didn't really mean to cancel it. We just had to make a statement. Ladies and gentlemen, this is ridiculous. The federal government thinks they can do whatever they want. Now, this is also, I haven't confirmed this. There is some federal government officials that do own stocks in Meta as well. So you have to look at that too. How many of these people own stock in Meta and did this for their own interests? Okay, think about this, all right? TikTok has 175 million users in the United States. You remember when the bill first came out? I even encouraged people, call your senator, call your congressman, tell them, look, let's not get rid of this. And you know how many congressmen and senators went on TV? This is propaganda. I heard one guy say this recently. This is propaganda. They're trying to manipulate people. They're not giving them the true nature of TikTok. But the propaganda is, hey, you saying it's a security threat, all because they collect our data, and it was proven under the Trump administration that TikTok built a facility in Texas to store all the United States data. It's not going to China, it's going to Texas. Oh, but this is propaganda. And they were mad. Excuse me. They were mad that people were calling them and telling them, hey, don't do this TikTok ban. We want TikTok. And the federal government was mad because you, the United States citizens, was telling them what to do, which that's how it's supposed to be. You get elected to represent us in the Capitol. It's not the other way around. You don't give us marching orders. We give you marching orders. That's why we put you in that building. You have people in the United States government today think they're God on earth and forget that we peasants put them there. But y'all don't remember. Y'all don't know the security risks. Okay, well then cancel Facebook. Oh, not that. That's where I make my money. That's where we get that. Now we got to the bottom line. How many of y'all think Meta was involved with this? You know how much money Meta was losing with TikTok and is still losing with TikTok? We talked about this yesterday at church. The TikTok shop people are buying stuff over the TikTok shop now. Getting it way cheaper than Jeff Bezos' Amazon. Oh no, can't have that. How much Jeff Bezos was involved with this ban? And look, this is all speculation. I will to clarify for everybody that's listening. This is all speculation. But what was the motive for banning this app? National security. What reason? They're stealing your data. So is Meta. So is Google. So is all these people. You know, when you hit I accept on that long list, if you don't want your data stolen, don't hit accept. And they're going to say, well, you can't use the app because you have not accepted. Okay, well, cancel the app. If you don't want your data stolen, get off everything. But this whole, they're in our data, that's the only reason. Well, I don't think that's a big enough reason. But 175 million Americans went ahead and lost access to an app that they really enjoy. Now, look, some people will say, look, some people are not content creators like myself. Look, I stopped using TikTok. It's not because I didn't like the platform. TikTok is still one of my biggest platforms. And when it takes me a lot to put out a video. But you think about it, okay? What if TikTok would have went off and I went viral on TikTok and had hundreds of thousands of viewers, 100,000 of followers, and I was making my whole living off of TikTok? Do you know that ban would have put me under? Now look, I work for a living. And I know a lot of people that have TikTok, and they're making money off of TikTok, but they're not. They still have a normal job. They're not. They're full. All their income is not based on TikTok. But ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people on TikTok were making money, and they were worried. They were losing their income. Yeah, but national security. Oh, you really couldn't figure out a way to do it better than what you did now? Also, it's kind of funny how they were trying to push for an American owner. Because if it's an American owner and they make it public, maybe these congressmen and senators, well, we can go buy stock and we can make money. At the end of the day, this is how I feel. At the end of the day, I think the money issue is why they got rid of TikTok. The American citizens wanted it. And the people in the federal government were not making money off of it. So at the end of the day, hey, it didn't influence. They didn't worry about TikTok because they weren't making money. So let's just get rid of it. The American people are like, hey, let's keep it. But the federal government's like, nah, let's get rid of it. And look, okay, this is TikTok. This isn't a social media app. But what are they doing behind the scenes to expand their bottom dollar and not protecting our own interests? It is a question that needs to be asked to everybody in the chat. Give me your opinion on this. It's a social media app today. What will it be down the line, or what it has been, and we don't know about? Man, I wonder why our taxes are going up. I wonder why this. I wonder why. And look, all governments do this. Again, I said I disagree with just not Jeff Landry, but the Republican legislation of Louisiana. Do you know on January 1st, we had to start paying 10% taxes on all our streaming services? Now, a lot of people say, well, what do you mean 10%? We didn't have to pay taxes on streaming services. But the state of Louisiana pushed a tax reform bill that passed in special legislation to ease up our taxes. But then come to find out we have to pay 10% tax. Why? Because everybody uses social media. And see, we're cutting these taxes, but we have to bring in the money from somewhere else. So it's not really a tax break you're giving us. You just took our taxes away from one area and put it on another area that you know a lot of people in Louisiana use. That in my opinion, and I haven't talked to none of my friends in the legislation, and if they're watching this, I hope if they want to call me and talk to me, I will tell them exactly how I feel. But you're telling me, oh, we're going to cut your taxes here, but we're going to add your taxes there? And ladies and gentlemen, we were told, oh, it's not going to raise, it's not going to be a lot, it's not going to be this. Why did we find this out after? Because people would have raised hell. Wait a minute, I'm going to have to pay more for my streaming services? Ladies and gentlemen, look, I'm sorry. I have good friends in the legislation here in Louisiana. I don't have none federally yet. But my experience with government is that they like to lie to you. And most of the time, these people don't care about your common interests. They care about their common interests and about their bottom dollar. And if it's true, like I said, I heard people say, hey, you know how many government officials have stock in Meta and they voted against this bill because of national security risk? No, as we hear more about this, it's not about national security risk. It's about their bottom dollar. And that's scaring me. Government is too big. And look, this is why they fear Trump. Talking about today. Starting today, they're going to implement where they're going to take people out. They're going to take certain agencies and cut them down. Elon Musk wanted to cut the government 70%. That's how it's supposed to be. Government is way too big. Our founding fathers are turning over in their grave because they never, ever attended. They never intended to have a big government. These people that are in Congress, do you know why the reason they're always gone in recess, or they only spend a couple of weeks in Washington and supposed to come home? Because back when Congress was made, they would go there for a couple of weeks, take care of the country's business, then go back and work their farms. They were normal people like us. Now you have lawyers and doctors and Fortune 500 children in there. They're rich, and guess what? They don't want to. They don't care about the common man. They don't. And it's sad. And I think, look, like I said, me seeing this TikTok ban, and look, I'm not all for TikTok either, no, because TikTok has censored me already. I've said a few things, and I've been online, and TikTok has pulled me down. We having good conversation, or somebody said something in the chat, not my fault. But somebody said something in the chat, and they pulled down. I didn't say it. Somebody in the chat said, or somebody reported me because I said something against a certain group of people. And I'm spreading hate speech, and they cut me off for a week. My live streams are taken away. I'm just telling you, TikTok is not the perfect company either. They're not the perfect social media app. But we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see how everything goes. And Donald Trump is gonna extend it, and we'll see what happens. But on the note of the law, no, the law. Let me say this on the last point with this: if the law says is banned and you get fined if you push it, you should get fined for pushing it. Laws are meant to be kept, not to be broken. All right, let's move on. Again, a bittersweet rejoicing as first hostages return to Israel after 471 days in captivity. This is according to Fox News. This comes after a extraordinary deal that Donald Trump put into play. The first images of 3 hostages, they mention their names in the article, being released to the Israeli Defense Forces on Sunday after their long captivity by Hamas. Their faces told a story of resilience after spending 471 days as prisoners. All 3 women were able to walk unaided from Red Cross vehicles to wait the IDF officials, making the first steps in Israel's historical ceasefire and hostage exchange with Hamas. If I'm not mistaken, 30 to 40 some hostages will be released. Excuse me. And 90 something Palestinian prisoners were released also as well. First off, like I said, I'm going to make this point. There isn't a perfect deal in this situation. My perfect deal would have been, hey guys, y'all release 37 hostages, we released 37 prisoners. And it would have been a lot better, but there is no perfect deal. This deal was probably the best that they could have gotten. And this deal only came about with President Trump. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, look, I'm rejoicing. We have some of these hostages that are being released. And look, all these hostages need to come home. But how many are still alive? See, Hamas keeps on telling us, well, we have this much and that much. How do we know that this is the only ones that are still alive? And Israel probably would have to get some confirmation that all the hostages from Hamas were still alive before they made this deal. That's something that I think they should push. But there's no way this would have been a perfect deal. Not for Israel. And look, with Donald Trump coming into office, and this comes from Ben Shapiro of the Daily Wire. I heard his episode when this deal was released. I was supposed to talk about it in depth on Friday. This deal right here did not benefit Hamas all the way. It did not benefit Israel all the way. According to Ben Shapiro, under the Biden administration, because Biden is trying to take credit in his farewell address, he made this point that he and his administration were credited for this release. When his own security guy, I can't think of his name, but I know his name is John Kirby. I don't know his title. But John Kirby came out and said this, thanks to the Biden administration, the Biden administration played a part, but thanks to the Trump administration for making this deal happen. Biden's own people are giving Trump credit because they could not do this deal. Biden keeps on talking about in April. Oh, we started this back in April. Yeah, but to no avail. You know what Biden's deal was? Hey, give everything to Hamas and screw Israel. That was Biden's deal. And that's why the Hamas people are like, yes, ceasefire, yes. We want this. And Biden would go to Israel and go, hey, Israel, they want this. You should give it to them. And Israel's like, what about us? Oh, screw y'all. That's what the Biden administration did. Everything for a ceasefire benefited Hamas. It did not benefit Israel. Israel said, look, we're not going to give y'all the Gaza Strip back. Oh, we want the Gaza Strip or no ceasefire. Under this deal, they keep their police state in Gaza. Everything Hamas wanted was to hurt Israel in the future. If I'm not mistaken, the Hamas leaders said, look, this ceasefire ain't going to stop another October 7th. This is just, hey, to help us rebuild. Israel did not benefit from this. The only time they benefit from this was in November. What happened in November? The incoming administration the incoming administration that we're going to have today started working with the Biden administration to work out a deal. And it helped to Israel that Donald Trump told Hamas, listen, if y'all don't have hostages released by the time I get into office, his quote, you're going to have all hell to pay. And ladies and gentlemen, all of a sudden, Hamas wants to talk about a deal. Why? Because they knew Donald Trump. They remember their friends from ISIS that told Donald Trump, hey, heck on you, Donald Trump. And they heard, beep, the mother all bombs showed up. They know Donald Trump's threats are real threats. They're not cross this red line and see, and you cross around. Oh, cross this red line and see. When they cross that one, cross this red line and see. Ladies and gentlemen, the Trump administration, not even in office yet. They're going to be in office in a few hours. Did more for Israel in the last 90 days than Biden has done in 2 years of this conflict. And for him to go on national television and say, it's us that took credit for this, it was our people, no. Donald Trump made this happen. Donald Trump's team was involved with this. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy these citizens are freed. But I'm just saying, and this also goes to another point. Well, these people are free, and Donald Trump helped out. But this also goes to another point. And I need to find the quote, and I never did. But there was a, and probably in the chat, you let me know. There's someone that made a quote saying, "Look, if you don't remember your history, you're doomed to repeat it." Somewhat of that. And look, we've seen this firsthand with this ceasefire deal. Why am I saying that? Well, Jimmy Carter, rest his soul. Jimmy Carter, right before he got out of office, had a hostage situation. It was the Iranian hostage situation. Iran was not letting these hostages go whatsoever. They were American citizens. And Jimmy Carter did everything in his power to get those people out of office. Get those people back home. Wouldn't listen to him. An incoming president named Ronald Reagan did the exact same thing Trump did. Told him, listen, I'm coming in, and if those hostages are not released by the time I get in, all hell's going to break loose. Right before Jimmy Carter got out of the White House, Iran released all the hostages. And guess who took credit for it? Jimmy Carter. Don't you see the similarities? President Biden could not get these hostages released. Incoming president makes statements. His people start working on it. And all of a sudden now there's a ceasefire deal. On both sides, they both can agree on it. They both don't get everything they want, but they also don't lose everything they had. And guess what? You have Joe Biden. Hey, I think I got these people out. Hey! When in reality it was Donald Trump. Fail to remember your history, you're doing to repeat it. Also, with this deal, I'm glad these hostages are out. This is the first phase. Will there be a phase 2? Probably not. Why do I say that? Because I want to see which side breaks the ceasefire. The ceasefire, if I'm not mistaken, is for a couple of months. Who's going to break it? And I'll predict who's going to break it. Hamas. Hamas and the terrorist state is going to break the ceasefire. Because their word don't matter. See, Israel abides by their word. Israel's not going to break the ceasefire. Israel's not going to fire unless fired upon. And these thugs, these terrorists, don't care about human life. We've seen this in Gaza. They don't care about their own people's protection. Come on, these are the people that hide in hospitals and schools and homes. When you fight these type of wars, you don't know who you're fighting against. All the people look the same. They don't care about human life. Israel does. Israel cares about human life, but the terrorists don't. Watch, they're going to be the ones to break this ceasefire. How long? That's another story. All right, let's move on to the next story, and this is concerning Joe Biden. Speaker Johnson went on, I think it was a podcast. Let's pull up the article. So he went on Bara Waltz podcast, her podcast, Honestly, for the Free Press. And she had Mike Johnson on, and Mike Johnson told a story. And ladies and gentlemen, this raised some questions for me. On Mike Johnson's side, and also Kamala Harris again. Mike Johnson on Friday recounted a meeting with President Biden from early last year when the president appeared to forget he signed an executive order pushing to export the liquefied natural gas LNG. So the story, I heard the story, I saw the video of the podcast. Johnson said he was trying to get a meeting for several months with the incoming president with the president of the United States at the time, Joe Biden. Now, a good point, and like I said, me and my friends, we talked. We had a fellowship at church, and they know I'm political, and we started talking about this. And this is the third in line for the president of the United States. Okay, God forbid anything happens to the president and the vice president, but the Speaker of the House is the third in line. If anything would happen to the president and the vice president, Speaker Johnson would be the president of the United States. So when the Speaker of the House says, "Hey, Mr. President, can we have a meeting and talk about certain things?" The president of the United States should say, "Yes, let's have lunch. Let's have dinner. Hey, come drink some coffee, something. You know, if there's some, I'm not a drinking man, but if there's some drinking man, hey, let's drink some Jack Daniels and Coke. I don't know, some vodka and Sprite. I don't know, okay, something. Let's get together and talk." But according to Mike Johnson, they hindered this meeting. And when he got there, when they finally allowed him to have a meeting with the president, finally allowed him, they had Chuck Schumer, Kamala Harris, Hakeem Jeffries, and everybody was with him. He got in there and they started bombarding him about Ukraine. "Oh, why don't you pass an aid for Ukraine? Why don't you this?" And he's like, "I'm here to talk about something totally different." And they just went ahead and just stormed him and tried to corner him. Now, I don't know why Biden did this, but he kept pushing, "Hey, I want to talk to the president. I want to talk to the president." Biden allowed him and Speaker Johnson to talk alone. And this is when the story happens. President Biden and Speaker Johnson had a talk. Speaker Johnson asked him why he signed an executive order to stop LNG. And can you say, look, and basically what Mike Johnson said, look, you're talking about Ukraine, you care about Ukraine, but you know, you signed this executive order that limited this. This could have helped Ukraine. Now they're dependent, all these foreign countries are dependent on Russia when you limited our LNG. And President Biden, according to Mike Johnson, like I said, I watched the video, said he was surprised and told Mike Johnson to his face, "I never signed that bill. I never limited that." And Mike Johnson even challenged him, "Hey, let's call your secretary and let's print out the bill and you can see your signature on it." And Biden said, "Oh, that bill." And he tried to make some excuses for everything. But this man did not know what bill he signed. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. We've been living 4 years for a president that didn't even know what he signed. Now, this is where I'm coming to the point. Who was running the country? Was it his aides? Was it his vice president? Was it Chuck Schumer? Was it Hakeem Jeffries? Who was running this show? And if it was him running this show he couldn't remember what bill he signed. He could have made Barney the national dinosaur and he wouldn't remembered it. This proves his mental decline, or that he was not really running the country. Did they just put pieces of paper that were blank, if you're watching like this, that has nothing on it, and he just signed them and they filled in the gaps? Did he just forget? Come on, you signed legislation like that, you should remember. And Mike Johnson was kind of Now, this does raise some more questions for me though too. Mike Johnson saw this, and according to the article, was in January of 2024, earlier this year, right before the election. Why did Mike Johnson start pushing for the 25th Amendment? See, I'm gonna be honest with you. I always thought it was the president's cabinet that can invoke the 25th Amendment, but apparently Congress can as well. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. But the way I heard it, hey, Congress can do it too. If Congress can push the 25th Amendment, why didn't Mike Johnson push that? Better yet, okay, even if they can't push the 25th Amendment, it is only the cabinet members. That's why I remember the 25th Amendment was only for the cabinet members, which I'm about to drill them a new one too. But why did Mike Johnson make this story known earlier? Well, Isaac, we didn't want them to think they were shooting a flying duck, a dying flying duck. You're the Speaker of the House. You're third in line. Why couldn't you go ahead and tell the people, hey, listen, I just had a meeting with the president. He told me he couldn't remember legislation that he signed. This man is running for president of the United States. Now, we know the media would have, Mike Johnson fabricating stories. Mike Johnson spreading false information, misinformation, disinformation. They would have said something of information. They would have covered Joe Biden's rear end. They did it until June, until that debate. Why did Mike Johnson let us know about this? Now, we already knew, me and Scott Ford and Two Mics Live and everything like that. We already knew. And we already knew his mental capability was declining. But why did Mike Johnson go ahead and talk about this? Why did Mike Johnson say anything? Now, on another point, Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and all of them were in the room. Why didn't they go ahead and invoke the 25th Amendment? I've been saying this for a while. Look, as much as I don't hate Kamala Harris as a person. I just hate her policies. But as much as I dislike Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris should have did her job as the Vice President of the United States and invoked the 25th Amendment. And take this man out of office. His mental capability was declining. He could not remember what bills he signed. But maybe they wanted that. See, a lot of people don't, Kamala Harris really loved this. No, she maybe wanted Joe Biden mentally unstable to do the job. Because she can push whatever she wants. And again, he don't remember what bills he signed. So, hey, you put a piece of paper in front of him, he signs, and you can put any law you want in the books. Ladies and gentlemen, if that was the case, in my opinion, this is treasonous. They should be all held up for treason. They put look. They talk about TikTok being a national security risk. Ain't that a national security risk that you have a president that don't know what hand is right and what hand is left? Don't know what part of the stage to get off of? Have to read a teleprompter and still mess up on his speech? That is a national security risk, not TikTok. They had a lot more bigger fish to fry than TikTok, but again, they didn't want that. Maybe they like the power. He maybe told them, "Hey, write it up, and I'll just sign it." I'm just saying, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I'm so glad Donald Trump's taking office. Back today. Last story of the day, and then we'll start this all back up on Wednesday. Biden makes pledge at South Carolina church on last full day in office. I'm not going nowhere. President Joe Biden, as of today, will not be the president of the United States. He will get on Marine One and fly off into the sunset. But he's saying he's still going to be in the public eye. Now, he's probably going to try to do like President Obama does. President Obama did not even leave Washington. He stayed in Washington, and he bought a house there, and he felt comfortable, and he's in the public eye. He has written books. He has done podcasts. None of them, in my knowledge, has been successful. Now, I don't read Barack Obama books. Okay, I don't want to know any of his ideology. but President Biden wants to do the same thing President Obama does now. There's an issue, the age. Barack Obama leaving office, I think was 50 some years old, give or take. This man is 80 some years old, 82. What Biden should do, and I know he's not going to take my opinion, but I'll give it to you. I'll give it anyway because you might know it. You might want to know. President Biden should go home and retire from public life. This man is 82 years old. I don't know if they forced him to be president of the United States or what, but 82-year-old man should just go home and retire. They shouldn't be working hard jobs. Now, the president of the United States, I don't care who you are, agree to disagree with the policies of the individual, but being the president of the United States has a lot of weight on you. And again, I said this earlier, going to the beginning, President Biden looked totally different than when he first got in there 4 years ago. Just being honest. And Barack Obama, we talked about people. I said Donald Trump might be the only exception because he did not change too much. But he needs to retire. He don't need to be in the public eye. He has made his mark in history. Unfortunately, it's not a good mark, but he made his mark in history. And President Biden should just go home, rest, enjoy the grandkids, and tell Hunter we can't be out of prison. Anyway, go on the beach, hang out, and enjoy his old age. That's what he should do. He shouldn't go ahead and critique everything that Donald Trump does. He shouldn't go ahead and make a podcast. He probably wouldn't remember the script. He don't need to go write no books. He just needs to go home and rest. And look, they're gonna make it. They're gonna with AI today. He might tell AI, "Hey AI, tell a story of my life and write it down." President Joe Biden was the worst president. I don't know, but he needs to go home and rest. That's all he needs to do. Again, agree to disagree with him, or agree, disagree, whatever. But I'm just saying, he don't need to be in the public light. But this man's hungry for power and hungry for money. We've seen this already. We've seen this with the deals in Ukraine. We've seen this with his son's business dealings. Remember, he still is the big guy. Hey, who knows? Might make millions after this too. I don't know. Anyway, with that being said, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Inauguration Day. I'm excited. I'm blessed. God has done some great and marvelous things in my life. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Thanks, Whitney. While haven't talked to her, haven't said anything about her in this episode, but I do appreciate her in helping out. Also, I'd like for you to do me a favor, guys. Go check out the Scott Ford Show. My good friend Scott Ford was one of the first content creators to reach out to me, and we collaborated on several shows, and he guest hosts for me a few times on the Isaac K Show when it was the Cajun Conservative Show. And Scott's a real good friend of mine. He started recording back again. And if you notice, I reposted one of his shows. So, guys, I need you to do me a favor. Go and like his show. Go ahead and subscribe to his show. And tell him that the Isaac Hayes Show sent you over there. And, guys, enjoyed having this conversation with you guys. We will be back here on Wednesday. Please keep my family again in your prayers. We will be back here on Wednesday. God bless you. God keep you. May his face forever shine upon you. Remember, Jesus Christ is King, and he's coming back, and he's coming back very soon. So be ready for his return. Make heaven your home by accepting him as Lord and Savior. We will see you guys in the chat. Thank you guys always. We will see you next time here on the Isaac Hayes Show. You be blessed. You be encouraged.